Hello everybody. Welcome back for another video. Hope everyone out there is having the best day that they could ever have and that you're all doing wonderfully or wonderful. Hope you're all good. Hope you're right. Don't forget to leave a like on the video. It's a free and easy way to support the channel. Very big thank you to everyone out there who leaves a comment as well, helping out the algorithm. And without any further ado, let's jump right into it. We have had, and I mean, this is fairly typical within the crypto space. We've had a very long run of like very good news. The worst news that we tend to sometimes get is like prices have fallen. So we've been, I don't want to use the word blessed. That seems a little bit, a little cringy there. But we have been gifted with a non-stop flow of dramatically good news within this market. A lot of companies as of late have shown an increasingly large amount of interest in buying up a lot of cryptocurrencies, and we did not have this before. We received, especially earlier in the year, a lot of de-dollarization news and this idea of where the market's basically going and how things are going to be in the near future. This news should come as no surprise to anyone out there. We haven't heard from them. It must be a solid 3 days, how we've so missed news about them all the time. They are called Metaplanet. They are a Japanese hotel company, I believe, who announced last year or the beginning of this year that they liked Bitcoin. They were getting into it. Now they have incredibly large aspirations of owning 210,000 Bitcoin, just them alone. They're back in the news. Metaplanet has announced on Monday the purchase of an additional 775 Bitcoin for $93 million US at an average cost of $120,000 per coin. The transaction escalated. What? Okay, there we go. That makes sense. Escalated or grew. Okay. The company's total Bitcoin holdings, they now have 18,888 BTC. They're the company that kind of does this. They only didn't do this once. Every time that Metaplanet buys coins, it has some kind of significance number-wise. So at one point, they held 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Bitcoin. Or one time, they purchased exactly enough that gave them 10,000 Bitcoin. Now they've rounded it out to 888 for the last digits of Bitcoin. They always, I don't know why, but they always buy a certain amount that would round out to a significant number. 8. For those of you who don't know, the number 8 in many cultures symbolizes wealth, eternity, and longevity, because if you turn it sideways, it is the literal symbol for infinity. So I assume that's where the 888 came in, amounting to a cumulative expenditure, SAT words, of $1.94 billion. Metaplanet's overall average purchase price now stands around $102,000. They wrote on, I assume, Twitter, 18,888 forward and upward. Spectacular. I could have not possibly said it any better myself. I mean, if I can be honest with you, the other interesting part is that there's like an actual chart, which we haven't had before. Whoever made this, bless your heart, because I've mentioned for months now. We keep hearing that all these companies have Bitcoin, but we've never had an actual chart. So here it is right here. For those of you not looking at the screen, these are apparently the public companies And even the numbers seem to be a bit off because number 7 is not correct. It should be higher. MicroStrategy on this chart has 628,000 Bitcoin. That is insane. Marathon Digital Holdings has 50,000. XXI, what? Oh my gosh, really? Wait, did they rename themselves? That might be them. Remember the company that we heard about in May or June? They were called 21 Capital. XXI would be 21, but I don't remember hearing them renaming themselves in Roman numerals. So, okay. They have 43,000 Bitcoin. A company called Bitcoin Standard Treasury Company has 30,000. A company called Bullish, that's a bit on the nose, has 24,000. Riot has 19,000. And Metaplanet, it says 18,113, but we know that it's 18,888. Trump Media has 15,000. CleanSpark has 12. And Coinbase continues to lie to us and saying that they only have 11,000 Bitcoin. They're Coinbase. Anyway, I'm not going to get into that discussion. Yeah, so whatchamacallit? Metaplanet continues to mosey their way into the news every so often, again, announcing how many Bitcoin they have, what they're holding, how many more that they want. If we continue to have good fortune and we continue to see prices continue to rise, I do wonder how a lot of these companies are going to continue to accumulate large amounts of Bitcoin if, prices are a lot higher than they currently are now. But yeah, this was, of course, very popular news. It has to do with Metaplanet. It can't not be popular. Everyone loves Metaplanet and all these companies buying up all the crypto. I do remind everyone of your earliness in this market and how lucky you are to be here when prices are still this low. So make sure, or rather, have a conversation with yourself to see if crypto is right for you and if you would like to accumulate more before the billionaires do, because that's, the billionaires have enough, right? That's the Metaplanet news. I guess segueing lightly, directly into something relatively similar. A company by the name of SharpLink Gaming has announced that they have over 728,000 ETH. Yeah. After a $2.6 billion acquisition, staking nearly all of it for yield. It even says on top they're getting 1,300 Ether in staking rewards. The company says the Ethereum network will serve as the core trust layer of the next generation financial system. If you somehow missed an abundant amount of news the last couple of months, a number, I would love to see those numbers, like that chart for Bitcoin, but for Ether, because these companies seem crazy. We have had a number of companies who have come out of nowhere announcing that Ethereum is the best thing that's ever happened to money in the last 8 bajillion years. And as we've seen before with Bitcoin acquisitions, these companies do not announce that they've purchased $1 million worth of ETH or $2.3 million. No. Their numbers are always in the billions. It is the weirdest thing in the entire world. We have had 2 thus far publicly announcing Bitcoin mining companies. Yes, who've announced that they're no longer mining Bitcoin and that they're going to be buying up Ether alone instead. I would assume that SharpLink Gaming was not an Ethereum company. I assume they were a gaming company. And now they've announced that they've used $2.6 billion to accumulate 728,000 ETH. Another company is nearing 2 million ETH. And what's the other one? And then one other company announced that they are actively now apparently trying to raise $20 billion to buy $20 billion worth of Ether. And when I say must be nice, like literally must be nice. Yes, all of these companies thus far have basically announced their intention to also stake the Ether. It protects the network and also basically takes those coins off the market. You know, that is those coins are inside the network. They're completely gone. They will not enter circulation. So relatively soon, we should be hearing that 60% of all Ether is actually just being used for staking, like continuously decreasing the actual circulating supply. Popular news, as you would have imagined. Cool. I guess. I don't really know what to say for things like this. Ethereum itself is not a very popular retail coin. So normal people aren't falling over themselves to accumulate ETH. But institutions, banks, and countries are. That's the big difference. So Ethereum is probably going to be like the upper crust coin, similar to Bitcoin. I've gone over that with you before. If you don't know, Bitcoin is mainly held by the wealthy. A lot of new people, even getting into the market, understand what Bitcoin is, but they don't understand what Bitcoin is. They may have an idea in their head that Bitcoin could hit 1 million, but they don't understand what it would mean for Bitcoin to actually go to $1 million. You must understand the tone of my voice. So similarly to Bitcoin, retail investors tend not to buy ETH because they don't understand what it is or what it could be in the future. And also, I mean, we have a lot of noise around about other coins that are going to surpass Ether and do this to Ether. There's very little chance. I think other coins will do well. I think Tron, with all the stable coins being built on top of it, awesome. I think Solana, with all the propaganda and the companies who own large amounts of it, amazing. Will do well in time. But none of these coins have any of the momentum that Ethereum has and will continue to receive as we move forward in time. So when retail money typically enters the market, it tends to go for, and I air quote here, lower cap coins or coins that have a lower price to them. So people are far more likely to buy XRP with a $1.28 price as opposed to Ether with $2,800 per coin, or Bitcoin at $72,000 per coin. It has to do, with the procurement of more for essentially less. So yes, we are witnessing, and I mean we have for a while. Ethereum was in that same exact box years ago, when we talked about the amount of Bitcoin in the hands of, wallets who've been accumulating for 16 years. Ethereum was there as well, but now it's like ramped up significantly because we're hearing these we're hearing a company randomly woke up, brushed their teeth, and they were like, I'm going to buy $2.6 billion. Like, that's the kind of area where we are. If rumors hold true, this will probably extend into 2026 and into 2027, and we will keep getting crazy news like this. We are probably going to live in a world where all the Ether, or dare I say, 70-80% of all the Ether is just gone from the literal markets by the end of the year. Because I've said before, all of the Ether, and people go, that's not possible because you're gonna. So okay, 70-80%, that's still a huge amount. Same exact thing with Bitcoin. And we are going to see wealth being made because of this ecosystem. So always remember how early you are. That's the accumulation. Well, no, sorry, there's actually more. Yeah. Let's move on. Also, a news that people sometimes forget is a thing. As I've stated countless times, I mean, it's just the human mind. If we hear ETF, ETF, we're going to assume that ETFs kind of run the discussion for Bitcoin accumulation. If we hear company, there's a thing in the mind that says, well, people have pivoted away from ETFs and they're simply moving over into, corporatization, Bitcoin buying, that kind of thing. Remember when we went over recently again about universities within the United States buying Bitcoin? Like everyone's buying it. If you have money, you are buying this asset. Years ago, we had news that countries were buying Bitcoin. And for whatever the reason might be, that news just didn't become popular. I don't know if it was because people couldn't find the countries on a map, or they couldn't spell them, or they didn't understand the significance of a country spending $1 on Bitcoin rather than $1 on gold or real estate, or whatever the case might have actually been. But they're back in the news, and I almost dare to say back with a vengeance. Thunder strikes lightning. Since the start of 2025, this is about Norway, by the way. This is about Norway. Norway's sovereign wealth fund has apparently increased their Bitcoin exposure by 87%. Yes. Years ago, we heard that universities within the United States had begun to accumulate crypto. We heard that individual states and their pension funds, I think Michigan was the most recent one, have been accumulating large amounts of Bitcoin. We had a bunch of bank news. And then we started hearing about Nordic countries also accumulating Bitcoin as well. So Norway has increased their Bitcoin exposure by 87.7%. adding around 4,714 Bitcoin in just 6 months. That's what I was stating years ago. There was a really weird bit of confusion within this market where people, for some reason, assumed that the US, Europe, Mexico, Latin America, Australia, like all these places just had no idea as to what Bitcoin was. We kept on getting news that countries, rumors of countries buying up Bitcoin. And I remember the comment section or Twitter or Reddit or in general, people being like, well, governments would never buy Bitcoin because it's decentralized. And I was like, what planet are you on so I can make sure to avoid it? No, they've known for a while. If you as a country, you have 38 billion to be able to kind of, spread around into different investments, and you hear that this one thing went from 1 cent to $800 to 3,400, there are like wealth management companies. And also for those of you who don't know, that BlackRock exists, right? You know what BlackRock, like part of what their business model is they talk to like leaders of countries. Have you ever seen like when Larry Fink is like at these mega events standing next to world leaders? They all know each other. So if years ago, Larry Fink and Fidelity and, were privy to Bitcoin, they at some point told these leaders, they were like, hey, you should probably have some exposure to this thing as a just in case. And, in the future, if it does go somewhere, like they've known before you, they've known before all of us got into this market. So yeah, they added another 4,714 Bitcoin in just 6 months. This is according to the latest biannual disclosure on Tuesday. The wealth fund increased its Bitcoin exposure through significant investment in treasury companies, MicroStrategy, and Metaplanet and crypto exchange Coinbase. That's typically how it works. That's how money works. The rich people talk to each other. They figure out like what the big new thing is, where to put their money. And if there's something that we are hearing that governments and countries are buying as we see the US dollar collapsing, that's where the smart money is moving to. If we have heard that Bitcoin's going to $250,000, if we have gotten the news that Bitcoin's going to $12 million. You know, these governments in these countries and these wealth funds heard about this a long time ago, right? Yeah. Everyone is buying. I told you, everyone with money knows what's going on. They literally see the writing on the wall because it's, you know, kind of omnipresent. So, never forget how early you are in this market. Never forget that you have the opportunity to also get a gigantic slice of this pie that all the rich people are eating as quickly as possible. Yeah, I think that's going to do it for this video. I do hope that you have all enjoyed. I do hope that you all are having a great day, morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are, wherever the heck you might be. I do hope that it is absolutely fantastic. Thank you all once again for watching, listening, liking, commenting, and supporting. And I will most certainly be talking to you all soon. See you.